I'm Chucky Award and welcome to my review for Child's Play. I just finished watching this movie. I haven't watched this movie in such a long time. It's been so many years. I recently purchased the movie on Blu-ray. Fabulous, fantastic Blu-ray. Really nice edition, I have to mention also. And I think, you know what, I'll talk about this movie and share my thoughts and opinions and, you know, talk about the Chucky franchise in a sense. So let's talk about Child's Play. Why did you black out the sun? So Child's Play was released in 1988. It was definitely at a very good time for horror movies, with films like Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween and Friday the 13th, you know, kind of storming horror genre. It was a fantastic decade for horror movies, and I think it was a good peak to actually, for this movie to go and show what it wants to do and do things that movies wish it could do today still. And surprisingly, a lot of movies, I think today, modern movies, still don't actually do it. They rely on CGI and they rely on, you know, typical cheap effects. This one goes proper old school, proper hard work, you know, practical electronic effects, you know, animation puppetry type thing, and I really appreciate that, and it definitely holds up quite well today. And I think, be like it's an 80s movie, watching it on a fantastic Blu-ray format, you know, it definitely still shows, and that realism and that kind of texture, it's just, I think, personally fantastic. You know, it doesn't feel like a full-on dated movie. It feels like a well-done, still very creepy, very intense movie. And, you know, I think it definitely earns its place in the horror genre for sure. And it's directed by the same guy who did This Little Beauty, Fright Night. Fantastic. The story for Child's Play follows a serial killer named Larry Charles, or known as Chucky is his nickname. Basically, he's shot and wounded by a police officer during the opening of the movie. He does this kind of voodoo spell on this kind of good guy doll, and this kid who's on his birthday receives the same doll, and of course he goes on a nice little murdering spree and kind of, you know, using Andy to do his little, you know, journeys and little biddings in places here and there. That's basically the outline of the plot movie in a sense. It's basically Toy Story, but evil in a sense. It's quite interesting. It makes me laugh the fact that the actual kid in the movie is named Andy, and yet in Toy Story it's named Andy as well. So it's kind of like, yeah, if you actually did find out, you know, Woody did start talking, would this actually happen? It made me laugh throughout the entire movie, the fact of that. But putting that aside, the actual storyline I think is actually really well done. I think it's fresh. I think it's quite different from horror movies, especially at the time. I mean, we're going up against big names like Halloween, Michael Myers, you got the Friday the 13th franchise, again, a very similar kind of concept. Nightmare on Elm Street kind of, you know, did something a little different, supernatural horror into the dreams, and this one has its own thing altogether, and it does things in this movie, like I previously said, that movies today still wish they could do. And, you know, with the recently new sequel movie, Curse of Chucky, which I have done a review for, so I'll be linking the description below for that, still manages to actually do something pretty clever with kind of practical effects, animatronics, if I'm saying it correctly. There's some really fantastic ideas in this movie, and the acting and the storyline all complement each other, and, you know, subtlety and tension and just some, like, holy fuck, you know, scenes in a sense. It's really interesting. You know, basically this 3-act structure plays really beautifully together. It does have its flaws in places, obviously, with you know, the over-the-top explosions in places, and, you know, one or two things which you like, which you really fall out the window in that kind of fashion, that kind of speed in a sense, or, you know, there's just one or two things, little nitpicks in places. But, you know, putting that aside, you know, who cares? It's a horror movie. I want to enjoy, you know, a serial killer doll that's killing people, that's swearing and nasty throughout the entire movie. You know, that's what I want, that's what I crave for. And as a first movie goes, I think it's very original. It doesn't sequel bait massively, well, not really at all, to be honest. I mean, you know, this could have been a very done one-off movie, and I'd been very, very happy, in all fairness. I think the movie's done really, really well to its degree, and it still holds up really well considering it's an 80s movie. Now, in terms of acting, I think the acting was really good in this movie. I think the actual kid named Andy was really, really well acted, and really good performance. There's just some great scenes within the first opening act, where he's like, I told you she wouldn't like it on TV, and it's kind of like, oh, is Andy kind of, because he's a kid kind of thing, which you don't believe the kid, do you, obviously, you know, for whatever reason, movie rules in a sense. So it's kind of scenes where, like, ooh, is he actually telling the truth in a way? And I like how it builds up to that very moment where, like, you know, Chucky reveals himself and starts talking and starts swearing and, you know, starts getting aggressive and nasty kind of thing, and it's kind of like, holy shit, this thing just came out of hell itself. absolutely love that concept, and I love the animatronics, just looking at Chucky and the fact that you're hearing this voice come out of it and the way it's moving with a knife, and you know, especially towards the fantastic third act of the actual movie. Just fantastic. I mean, the third act, I think personally, is my absolute favourite part of the movie, especially with some of the actual dialogues, and you know, it's just, they made a doll, basically, an evil killing doll, into a fantastic, creepy, like run for your life, scary moment. You know, that could have been, I mean, this could have been absolutely hilarious. You looked at them thinking, huh, how can that possibly be scary? How can that possibly, you know, give me chills in a sense? And they pulled it off brilliantly through great cinematography. I love the POV shots, I love the whole sound effects, the whole tip-tapping kind of thing. And it's the fact that this thing won't go down as well when it's shooting it in a way. It's just, you know, very impressive in terms of cinematography, very impressive dialogue. Great acting, they played it seriously at the same time. You know, the whole idea of like, oh, you typical, you crazy kind of thing. You know, there's so many layers to this movie, and I'm just generally quite impressed. I don't want to say too much now, but in case you haven't seen the movie, but if you haven't seen Child's Play, definitely go and check out the first movie. It still holds up pretty well for its time. Good acting, good script, you know, very good tension building scenes. That's some of my favourite dialogue in places in terms of a horror movie, and it's definitely earns its place in terms of the iconic horror movies out there for sure. I'm really glad I rewatched it again today because I'm in a good mood now, and it definitely complements the recently new sequel, Curse of Chucky also, which kind of flows in nicely together. Really cool stuff. So that's been my review for Child's Play. I hope you enjoyed watching this review. What did you think of the movie? Do you think it's good? Do you think it's bad? Love to know your opinions. Comment down below. So in the meantime, I'm from TV. Signing out.